Yeah. Did they try to buy you up yet?
I no, not yet, but we'll
No.
see.
Yeah. Is that a goal?
I don't know. I don't know yet. I mean, do I have a number in my head? If somebody came and said, "Here's this amount of money," would I take it? Yeah, But do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. Do I want that to happen? Not right now. Like
What is what
I love
what
what I'm
is your
doing.
goal? What is your goal right now?
My goal right now is to treat a little bit less, groom my staff more, do more speaking engagements around the country, seminars, conferences, get on more stages. I've taught continuing education courses for other companies like Rock Tape and Pessy for years, and I love teaching. It gives me the same kind of excitement factor that treating and helping people get results, with pain and injuries does. So, and I just kind of see myself kind of moving into that role a little bit more, like continuing to parlay the social media, just into more opportunities for me. But my whole vision is I want to be the rising tide that raises all the ships, and the ships being my staff and my community here that we're building. So to give these guys more opportunities earlier in their career than I got.
Hmm.
You mentioned before marketing, Mike, and obviously you're
Mhm.
great at marketing. You have a specific strategy that you're using for the gym and yourself personally, or are you just sort of like Gary Vee recommends just documenting it? You're not creating stuff. You just, this is what I'm doing. I'm shipping it out constantly.
So yes. So the organic social media, the goal there is mostly reach, right? So part of what I'm trying to do for 2025 is make my content a little bit more universally applicable. So you'll see a little bit of a shift in my content. What I'd historically done was make all the content myself. Then about a year and a half ago, one of my athletes who kind of started getting into videography, I hired him on to just kind of help me to offload the editing part because it was just too time consuming. So he started just showing up at like times where I had clients, and a lot of what you guys saw, like me working on clients while I'm talking to them, like those are just authentic, real interactions with me and my client. And he's recording them, chopping them up if he thinks it's a compelling content thing, which is also really interesting because what I think is interesting isn't necessarily what does well on social media.
Yeah.
So bringing in somebody who doesn't have as much technical knowledge and seeing what he thought was interesting really helped me grow in 2024 for sure. So 2023, I was floating around somewhere around like 20K on Instagram. Now it's around like closer to 70. And a lot of that was just kind of fly on the wall content. Now I'm strategically trying to make more content that's more appealing to the masses and not just a clinical audience. So most of the people who follow my accounts are athletic trainers, physical therapists, massage therapists, chiros, and strength coaches, like industry people. And so I'm trying to make that appeal on the personal brand side a little bit more to everybody and start to establish myself as, an authority in the sports medicine rehab fitness space. Um, so for the company though, my marketing strategy is, I'll do paid ads to really highly target the local community, specifically for the PT side and or the gym side. So I'll either content that does really well like nationally or globally rather, I'll use those as ads, or I'll create very specific or similar style content that's very pointed at, a call to action, like, whatever our offer is on the front end for the ads. So I run those ads. My front desk, he does a lot of discovery calls for free with people where we kind of just qualify them and see if they're a good fit for us. If it's a problem that we know we can solve, then he sets them up for an eval. And then usually from there, it's a lock. We usually are able to convert a pretty high percentage of people into a care plan once they've kind of experienced the whole like first session, which is like an eval, a treatment. We come up with a full like blueprint for them of like, hey, this is exactly how we're going to get you from A to B. Here's our vision for you. What do you think? And most people are just like, wow, you actually have a fucking plan for me. This is cool. Like I want a plan. I don't have a plan at physical therapy when I go with my insurance. I'm just there doing 3 sets of 10 fucking yellow TheraBand shit for an hour. So yeah, so the marketing strategy, I do a lot of events locally, like free workshops. We do, community events. We do, obviously paid advertising. We do local sponsorship of little leagues and different organizations and some of our pro fighters that are local and up and coming. So it just depends. But that's done a pretty good job again, because that's the tricky thing about a brick and mortar, right? Brick and mortar has to be marketed locally. especially if you're a one-off, I'm not professional physical therapy that has 300 or 400 locations. So that marketing strategy looks a lot different than, what I do for a brick and mortar in Seaford, New York, where I'm really trying to get hyper local, but I want my reputation to be ubiquitous, right? Or like bigger than the local. And I think it does give us some brand equity. It's when somebody sees my ad and they click on it and they go, "Oh, this dude's got 70,000 followers." Like, I don't think I'm any better because I have more social media followers, but it is instant credibility. And that's the reality of it. That's what building that personal brand has done, is it gives us more credibility. Again, which comes with its baggage too. In the beginning, I struggled a lot scaling past myself with that strategy because people wanted to work with me specifically, and then I can't do everything, right? So now that I have a little bit more of like a more well-rounded marketing effort, we're bringing clients to the door that aren't necessarily married to the idea of working with me as an individual.
What are your offers looking like for PT? See, that's another thing with advertising. I mean, I have no problem saying something like for speed, hey, and we haven't advertised for speed or any believe it or not, no gym space advertising in the 10 plus years I've been doing this now. And we're just word of mouth, strictly
Mm-hmm.
word of mouth, and we crush. But for the adults, we have to put out offers,
Right.
21-day challenge or whatever the hell it is. And my first thought would be, well, a fully guaranteed offer of, hey, feel better or get your money back. Now, but for medical or wellness type
Mm-hmm.
stuff, that's I mean, you could get sued for over promising, under delivering with stuff like
Sure.
that. What kind of offers are you doing? Like what is the offer?
So usually on like the front end to get somebody through the door, you want a low barrier offer, something that either doesn't cost a lot of money or doesn't take a lot of effort on that person's part, with basically the opportunity to walk away, no strings attached. I think that's the key to an intro offer. So it's a free workout, or the one that I've had the most success with on the physical therapy side has been $100 off our evaluation session. So I'll give you $100 certificate if you give me your contact info. And now I have the ability to start to, and the problem with paid advertising is it's like it's like rocket fuel. And you can't put rocket fuel in anything other than a rocket. You have to put it in a rocket. So what I mean by that is you have to have really solid systems in place to follow up, nurture, warm this person up, right? Because to be fair, Mike, word of mouth is the easiest marketing you could do because that person's already been qualified for you. That
100%.
person's already sold on working with you at the time they make the phone call or send you an email or text. When you advertise, this is cold internet traffic. I don't know if you know anything about the internet. There's some fucking weird shit on the internet, aka weird people. But we have to establish trust and credibility with these people before they ever get a chance to actually interact with us. That's very difficult to do. Now, I do think having a solid organic social media presence helps. You don't have to have a bajillion followers, but you have to have bingeable content. So if somebody sees your ad for whatever your offer is and they click on it, they're like, I'm interested in this, but I don't know, this is a little sus to me. What are they going to do? They're going to go right to your social media account. And if you've got 10 posts there, you lost that person. If you've got 1,000 followers, but you've got 1,000 posts and now they can binge, like think about what you do. Like you see a new Netflix show that you love. It's like you binge the whole season. That's what most people do. I mean, again, I don't know, maybe you guys are health nuts, right? So maybe you don't do that, but most people binge on, like, if they're interested in something. So you want to have bingeable content that people can go down the rabbit holes on. I do a lot of blogs. I do a lot of written stuff so people can find us that way. YouTube is really great because it's searchable. So making sure you have a really solid YouTube strategy also really helps. But I think having that system, like I use Go High Level, GHL, to create these automated campaigns to nurture people depending on what stage of interacting with us they're at. So if they're just a brand new ice cold lead that just filled out a form on our Facebook ad, those emails and texts that they're getting from me are generally open-ended questions via text, like, hey, what's one thing right now that you wish you could do that you're struggling with? Well, then they answer that text, and it's like, now we're starting a conversation. where we can add value to that. And then the emails are just, here's how to get out of pain. If you have low back pain, here's 3 ways you can get out of low back pain. Here's one of the things that you don't know about pain that you should. Here's something about movement that most orthopedic surgeons don't understand. Here's why you should be careful taking rehab advice from your doctor. Here's why you should, you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to build as much value as I can, showing people that A, they can trust us and that we're credible. We're a credible source of information. And then once you do that, it's just rinse and repeat, you know? And now I have my staff to the point where they're very good at fielding these questions. I have some automated AI tools that I use and conditional logic tools that I use in my GHL software to help nurture people even when we're not in the office. And so far, so good. We've been able to scale at least 50% year over year for the last 3 years. So that's huge. It's really, really cool.
And so how
That
big is
is
the
huge.
Yeah, because I mean, this I'm so impressed. You got so much shit going on, and it sounds like, you're really tied up, like doing so good with it. How many people are helping you with this?
So how many people do I have on staff now? So I have a full-time staff of 7 outside of myself. I have one full-time admin who's my general manager, who former athlete, played independent baseball, got to the twilight of his baseball career, was looking to make a little bit extra money. I hired him for my front desk role. As we all know, that is a hard road to walk for a long period of time. And I basically was like, hey man, listen, here's an opportunity for you to step into a GM role, like a manager role, and really help me on the back end of this. And so he helps me with a ton of the administrative burden, doing the free discovery calls, doing a lot of the follow-up manually, managing the software and the systems that I put in place, and he manages 90% of that, and then I help him where I can or where he needs help. So like now I'm in like a true kind of manager role where it's like, oh, we got overflow in the clinic. I'll add some extra availability to step in and grab a couple of sessions, help my guys out. But mostly I'm mentoring my coaches, teaching them, mentoring my therapists. I like to get young coaches and therapists and groom them. I've always had more success doing it that way than bringing in people that already have a skill set and maybe have bad habits, or maybe think it's hard to fill a cup that is already full. So I'd rather take these young guys and girls and give them a great opportunity to learn from me directly, and also give them help them take the training wheels off and be successful on their own.
How did you learn all this shit? Like business side, how did you learn it?
Well, I got my MBA, so
Yeah,
that
but dude,
exposed me to some of it. I would say that the MBA did not help me get to where I'm at now. Listen, it's a skill set. It's like anything else that we do. You just got to put the time in and get the reps. And, I'm a smart guy. Like I've always been very good at retaining information, but for me, I had no choice. It was success or death. That was it. Because I came from nothing. I started this with a portable table going to clients' houses, for $90 a session, and just trying to make so I could pay my bills. When I first got out of grad school, I was a full-time athletic trainer at LIU Brooklyn, which is a mid-major D1 school, and I was making $29,000 a year to work 80 hours a week. So by the time I paid my student loans and my rent, I was broke for the month. So I would bartend on the weekends just so that I could fund my career. So for me, I got to a point where it was like back against the wall. It was either I was leaving this industry and going to get a real job, or I was going to become successful in this. And so a lot of it was, people ask you, right? Oh, how'd you, they want what you have, but they don't want to necessarily do what you had to do to get there. It was like, my story is the classic story of back against the wall, no resources, no help. My parents both died very young, so I didn't really even have a family to go back to. I didn't have a couch to sleep on at my mom's house to get started. It was like I was on my own from 16. So it really came from no choice. It was learn it, be good at it, and it's not like I'm a smoking hot chick that I could put like on Foot Finder. No, no offense, ladies, but it's a little easier to get attention. So the only way for a guy to get attention in 2024 is competence, a high level of competence. And so I've just doubled down on myself and doubled down on my skill set and learned as much as I can, surrounded myself with really fucking good people, and just was never afraid to roll up my sleeves and stay up late and do the work.
Yeah, but it's so impressive also how consistent you've been. I mean, when you said you've done 10 years of YouTube consistently, that is very impressive. I always heard, well, not always heard, I've heard from a couple people, they say if you make one YouTube video a week for a year, you'll be completely transformed. What do you
Yeah.
think 10 years of YouTube has done to you?
It
Like what's
completely changed my viewpoint of social media. Again, I think a lot of people approach it like, oh my God, what if I'm wrong? What if people don't like my content? What if I get a lot of hate? And trust me, I get a good amount of hate, but overwhelmingly positive it was the response. And I was honestly surprised by that in the beginning. When I first started posting content, I was just like, I'm an athletic trainer. Nobody's going to want to listen to me because athletic trainers are like kind of like the redheaded stepchildren of like no offense, Alex, of like the rehab and like medical world. Not very respected, even though you look at every collegiate athletic trainer, you're working with multi-million-dollar athletes potentially. You know what I mean? So we're responsible for that. But when it comes to competing in the healthcare industry, there's not a whole lot of room to gallop there, you know? And so I'm a little bit of a trailblazer in that regard because I was just like, fuck it. I'm not doing this the way it's always been done just because it's always been done that way. Like I'm more than willing to be, you know, the first guy through the fence, I guess, and see what happens. And that's kind of what happened. It was like nobody ever came to shut me down, you know, and truthfully, I've had maybe in the last 10 years, a handful of clients even ask me what credential I am. And then I'm just honest. I'm an athletic trainer. Oh, what's an athletic trainer? And then I'll explain it to them. And then we move on to helping them with their problem. But people don't care like what your credential is. They care about the result. And if you can get results for people and you can learn how to sell that part, most people are trying to sell, I'm a DPT and they want to, or I'm a whatever, and they stake their entire reputation on the profession that they're in. You know what I mean? So that's 100% of their value. And that's the same in athletic training. You go to a NATA conference and every single one of those athletic trainers is walking around the expo floor with their fucking team polo on because their only value is that what the value that the school gives them, the brand recognition that the school gives them. It's like, no, I'm good at this stuff. I love this stuff. I know I can get results for people. I'm just going to put that out there and lead with that. And it's worked out pretty well.
Dude, incredible. We have some like impressive people on this podcast, like really, but dude, like no bullshit. Like we
I
have
appreciate that, man. That's awesome.
yeah, we have world-class coaches from around the fucking world. This is, and you're only 39. This
Yeah.
is awesome. When,
I appreciate that.
what year did you open up? Did you officially hang up your own shingle?
That was 2014 officially as Recovery Lab with my former partner. Now he owned the whole company, but you know, I started building the systems. I started like understanding how to sell it. I started understanding how to go out and get clients. So when we split up in 2018 and I rebranded as the Movement Underground, we'd already had, you know, a solid book of clients. A lot of our athletes, especially our higher end athletes, kind of came with me. Because you know that's where they saw the value, or at least what they needed at that time. And then we've been able to just consistently grow, and you know, without going out and getting an investment, without going out and getting funding, we were able to just kind of keep the money. And I've always been very conservative with that and reinvest, 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 reinvest. Like I can get by, you know. And to be fair, also I got married this year. Like I really put my personal life on the side. Like I didn't go out. I didn't have a lot of fun. I didn't go on vacations. Like I didn't do anything except for eat, drink, and live this shit for like a decade. And just trying to be the best athletic trainer, sports therapist, coach that I could be. And then now recently that's started to create a lot of momentum where I've been able to do more stuff for my personal life with it. But for a long time, it was just do the work, you know?
Yeah. Congrats on getting married. How do you have any
Thank you.
kids?
No kids yet. Working on it.
How old's your wife?
She just turned 31.
Good for you.
So
I don't.
yeah, I had to go a little younger.
Yep.
Yeah, I went a little younger. So I'm out kicking my coverage a little bit, but that's okay.
You know, we had on a very, very well-known coach yesterday, Stu McMillan, and he was talking about how he gets embarrassed looking back, you know, even just 5 years ago. I mean, what was he say, 55 years old, I think he said.
Yeah.
Every couple of years, he looks back on himself and what he's put out there and he's embarrassed by it. But I feel like your mindset, you probably have a little bit of a different perspective on such a thing like this. What do when you look back at yourself from all this YouTube time and all the stuff you've been putting out, what's your perception of yourself back then? And do you feel this sense of embarrassment, or do you see it in a different way?
I, yeah, I am embarrassed, but not for the content, like the not for the substance of the content, for just the way I delivered it. You know, when I first started doing my YouTube, and those videos are still up, and I left them up. I've wanted to take them down for years. They're very monotone. They're very like, this is why, this is the hamstring insertion origin. Here's why. It was very like, I was very concerned about making sure the information was correct, that I had evidence to back it up, that I wasn't just talking out of my ass, wasn't making anything up. Like, it was very, but it had no personality. It had no entertainment quality to it. And so one of the things I'm most proud of is that my content's evolved to be more just me. Like, I don't give a fuck what people think about me. That's fine. Whatever. It's like, if I don't know who you are, then you don't have enough value in my world for me to care what you think about me. Sorry. So I've gotten better at that over the years. It still bothers me when people say bullshit stuff. Like, they'll try to call you out or, cut you down just cause. But that's, some people are just going to do that. No matter what you do, or no matter how you act or what you sound like or say. So I've just kind of taken that as it is what it is. But I'm just most proud of the evolution in terms of like trying to bridge that gap between education and entertainment, making it something where I can get people to think more critically about a subject matter, or think about maybe pain, let's say, from a different angle, understand it a little differently, so that maybe they can change their relationship with it. And so that part, I'm still really obviously passionate about the actual content itself and the information there, but I'm still learning too. I've come back and changed my viewpoints on plenty of things as the evidence has changed. And I think so for me, when I look back, and it's like, oh, that wasn't necessarily, like if you look at my manual therapy content, let's say from 10 years ago, it was very mechanically based. It was very, hey, I'm releasing this muscle with this tool, and this is the reason why I'm doing it. But that was the belief systems, and that was the evidence that we had at that time. And obviously that's evolved, and I'm just sharing what I think is the most cutting edge version of that now. I don't do it with any remorse or regret for the content that I put out 10, 15 years ago. It is what it is. It's like, that's what we thought then. But I think most good clinicians and coaches respect that. I think it's only the people who are small minded, in the sense that they think there's a right and wrong way to do any of this stuff. Those people have a problem with you changing your stance. Like, oh, you flip flopped on that. It's like, no, I learned. And I'm okay with learning and being wrong and updating my opinion based on the evidence and based on my experience, and not the other way around, you know?
Yep. Yep.
Now, change speeds a little bit, although I know I'm going back to the business because, bro, I can learn so much from you. And we selfishly do this podcast. I literally just do this podcast to talk to cool people and
That's
learn
awesome.
from them. Because I mean, we don't sell any products online. We don't do anything to make money online. I grow my Instagram. I don't know why. Like, I have no
Well, you
rhyme
do
or
it for the
reason.
same reason we all do it, right? Listen, we all have, I'd be lying to you if I said that the social media doesn't stroke my ego a little bit. Of course it strokes my ego. If it feels good to be validated, by people that you don't know, but also people that you do know. And my social media has created ridiculous opportunities for me that would not ever have happened if I had not put the content out. Could I build a good brick and mortar business knowing what I know now without the social media presence? I believe I could. But the fact that, Mark Bell messages me, hey, come out on my podcast. I'm like, yeah, that's fucking awesome. Like, you're a legend, dude. Like, I'm a fan of that guy. You know what I mean? Like, a genuine fan. And all of a sudden now I'm in a studio chopping it up with him and the guys. It's like, wow, this is really, really cool and very validating. So I'd be lying to you if I said it doesn't feel good in that sense. But the other part of that too is like, I don't think it's imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is not an issue for me anymore, because I'm really confident in what I know and the time and effort that I've put into what I know, and that the fact that I am still learning and continue to refine it and grow as I get older. And I think that's just who I am as a person. Like, I'm always interested in why and learning a little bit more. So it just kind of happens with time. But yeah, I post because I'm trying to get the message out there. I'm trying to get people. I want people to know who Mike Stella is now.
Hmm.
Maybe that wasn't the case 10 years ago, but now the case is I want to become a thought leader in this space, or at least leave my mark on it where it's like I left this industry better than I found it. If I could do that and make enough money to retire and have a family and do the things and take care of my people, I'll die a happy man. That's fine with me.
What are your money goals? What is enough
Um,
money?
dude, like I said, I came from a single mother household where we were barely scraping by. Like the fact that I have a house on the water now, I have a little boat and a jet ski in the backyard that I could take out whenever I want, and me and my wife go on vacations and travel, and like we don't have to worry. Anything beyond this is I don't think it's changing my life all that much. I've already kind of reached the financial goals I had for myself when I started this. Was I want to be able to pay my bills and have money left over at the end of that. you know so like for me, we've hit that and then some, and like I said, now I'm more about like being the tide that raises the ships and trying to help my staff not have to eat frogs for a decade before they start making shit happen for themselves.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, now with the bodywork side,
Hmm.
you use instrument assisted soft tissue massage, you use hands, you use you talk about fascia.
Right.
Where did you start picking up things? Because it was tough for me. Now you're an athletic trainer, so you're able to take all the courses. I was just a personal trainer that never stopped learning, and I didn't have the ability to take these
Hmm.
courses until I graduated in 2020.
Right.
So it's been some time since that you've been doing this for a while. Where did you learn these techniques? Where did you come up with some of your thoughts on this stuff? Because I think we think very similarly, even though we took different ways to get there. So talk to me with the athletic training, with the I assume you took a Graston course
Sure.
and ART courses,
Hmm.
and you took all that. How much
Oh
how
yeah.
and that was when you were broke. You spent all
Oh
your money
yeah.
doing it.
Oh yeah. If I had any expendable income, it went to continuing education for the most part. Again, at the time, I was just like, I believed, and then my viewpoints on this changed, and now have switched back. So like, I thought for years, if I just become a better skilled practitioner, the money will come. And so I just kept putting my more money into continuing education, more skill sets, more courses. And then years went by and I'm like, I'm still fucking broke. I'm still fucking broke. I'm still struggling. Fuck this profession. Like I made a mistake. I fucked this up. And it wasn't until years later that it started to pay off, where it's like that competency started to, I guess, separate us from the pack a little bit and give us more opportunities. So again, my relationship with that has changed over the years, and now I'll hang my hat on and I'll die on this hill. And I tell most young clinicians and trainers and coaches is invest in yourself. For God's sake, invest in yourself, because if you don't, you can't go back. If you do, nobody can ever take that away from you. Nobody can ever take that skill or that knowledge away from you. So do it. And again, at the time, I was struggling in chronic. I was in chronic pain. I was struggling with not being able to exercise because I was in pain. And so for me, a lot of that was selfishly motivated because I wanted to find answers for me, because the answers that I had been given previous to that were just not good enough. Oh, it's tendonitis, just rest it. Well, I don't want to just rest. I want to go to the gym. I want to work out. I want to go play men's league lacrosse. I want to go snowboarding. I want to, I'm 20, I'm 23 years old. I shouldn't be limping every day. Like this is insane, you know? So a lot of it was selfishly motivated by my own desire to figure out my body. And then I was able to parlay that into helping other people. Um, for me, it started with when I was in undergrad. Athletic training has always kind of looked at physical therapy like the big brother, and we're just going to kind of follow in those footsteps as a profession. So it was very, when I was coming up in school, it was like, oh, we do stim and ultrasound and laser, and we don't do massage. That's for massage therapists. Like, we're not here doling out massages. So I had a very arrogant and almost like apathetic view towards manual therapy because that's what we were taught in school. Then I get the job at the University of Florida, which was kind of my dream job coming out of school. My goal at that time was I wanted to be an athletic trainer in a big time college conference or in the pros. That was the vision I had had for my career. So I get a freaking call from one of the top SEC schools. It's like, I'm there. Like I literally packed all my shit in order of importance, packed it into my 95 Grand Prix, drove down to Gainesville with nowhere to live. I was just like, I'll sleep in my car. I'll figure it out. It'll be fine. Future Mike's going to figure that out. So I get down there and, I got assigned to track and field. My boss at track and field, who is also a massage therapist, who's an ATC LMT, he's like, what's your experience with manual therapy? I'm like, I know what effleurage is. That's what I know. I know what basic Swedish massage is. And I don't really like doing it. He's like, good. We call that a flush. You're going to work on 50 athletes a day that are not hurt for recovery. And I'm like, oh, so here I am fucking doling out massages all day on these track and field athletes. And I'm looking at him on the table next to me and he's like, oh, your hip internal rotation is this. Let me boom, 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 remeasure it. It's fixed. I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, he's like, oh, this athlete's like, my hamstring's killing me when I jump. And Andy would do his thing and he'd be like, all right, go out and test it. And they'd become like, Andy, that's awesome. So much better. Thank you. I'm like, what the hell? Whoa, whoa, whoa. I've been sold a bill of lies. What's this manual therapy thing? I got to get into that. Like, that's where the results are. And again, at the time, what was the models or the narratives surrounding that where we're breaking up fascia, we're lengthening tissue, or restoring length tension relationships mechanically. So I was just like fucking all in on that. And to be fair, I was in a very good situation, right place, right time. Andy Klock, who was the athletic trainer for track and field, really into manual therapy. He put Thomas Myers and anatomy trains on my desk on day one. He put Warren Hammer's functional assessment and soft tissue intervention by manual methods, which is literally like this. It's this thick. It's like taking two Bibles and putting them on top of each other. And he's like, I need you to read these like sooner than later. Otherwise, you're not going to know what we're doing. And I'm like, okay. So for me, it was just like, I had no friends. I had no family. I had no girlfriend. So what did I do? I went home. I ate, chicken and rice and read these books and just completely immersed myself in learning the material. And what happened over that year is I instantly saw these athletes change. I instantly saw that we could change their movement and change their pain. Now, the reasons we thought that was happening aren't the reasons that we were talking about then, but the results were still there. And it's very hard to ignore when an Olympic level athlete comes in to tell you like this works and I feel better. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to do more of that then. More of that, please. And so that's what we did. And we got tremendous results. We had very few athletes that were hurt. And there's a reason why certain collegiate programs, are in the top 5 to 10 in every sport, every single year. And if you look at the University of Florida, they're one of them. So I just took that mindset and I applied it to everybody.